switch gears a little bit. You're heading into year 3. We've been up here a couple of times, and every time we come up here, just blown away by the people, what seems to be investment in athletics, investment in the students in general, not even just on the athletic side, the town, everything. What's your message to people who maybe recognize the brand but don't understand what Penn State baseball is trending towards, what it can be, and even this university as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I think that starts with the president, Neil Beneputi, at how important athletics is to the mission of Penn State in general, and then Pat Kraft, our athletic director. When there's a lot of places that talk about student athlete experience, and I think sometimes that gets turned into just like give the kids stuff. Pat talks about student athlete experience in a different way. Student athlete experience is, are we giving the athletes what they need to reach their potential to win championships? Like, that's the standard here. And you see our football team is on the verge of another national championship, I believe, maybe multiple going forward. What our wrestling program, I mean, it's literally the greatest dynasty in any sport ever. It's insane. Women's volleyball, men's lacrosse is about to win. Both soccer is a championship level elite. Gymnastics was, I mean, you can go on and on and on. And Pat is making sure that investment level is here in baseball as well. Our alumni are excited about it. The town has been excited about it. You know, it's part of why we all came, because we all believed in that vision. Everybody told us what they believed Penn State baseball could be if there was an investment at a high level. Pat Kraft, Vinny James, our deputy AD, he's a PA guy who played baseball, college baseball in Pennsylvania. These guys they're committed, which is, there's only one reason you move your family, you know, not all the way across the country, but, you know, and the build for all of us as a staff, it's fun. It's really, really exciting.
What excites you most about what the future looks like for you in this program? Like, when you wake up every day, what gets you the most excited about coming to work?
I think, well, for me, I guess that's two separate questions, because, you know, when it comes to the program, none of that should or I would ever want to be about me. The thing that gets me excited coming to work every day, the thing that I love, one, I love our staff, but I love watching players grow and develop. Like that. I love the fall. I love being on it. I love the coaching aspect. It's not that I don't love the spring. The games are great. And teaching during games is a whole nother level, and that's tremendously fun. But like, seeing guys come in and reach their potential and grow and develop is awesome. And again, I keep saying this, like, we're about winning championships. We're going to host a regional here. I tremendously believe in that. I believe that we will go to the College World Series here, but I believe all those will be byproducts of building out an elite player development system and an elite culture. And I think if we can just, all of our energy and those things I love, you know, plus, like, not many people get to go to work every day. I mean, I love what we're doing. We can't take ourselves too seriously. I mean, we wear what amounts to a costume to work every day. You know what I mean? Yep. So like, so we can work tremendously hard and have that be fun, right? Like, it's not fun or work, right? It's not like I don't think like silly and messing around is fun. Like, that's not fun to me. Right. Fun is like getting after it, working hard with people you love and people you care about.
You want to be an elite player development program. What kind of infrastructure, and starting with your role where it's top down, do you have to have in place as far as resources, staff? How do you go about building that out so that the main focus can be player development? Because like you said, sometimes I feel like there is a fine line to walk of, we want to be player development driven, but you have to win too, right? So like, yeah, it's great if guys are hitting PRs in the weight room and hitting PRs in velocity and bat speed and all that stuff, but if it doesn't translate to wins, then you got to change the system. So what does it take to build a player development driven program?
So we break it down. We talk about throughout it, sort of three different phases of everything that we're doing to get back to like why the winning is important, or, you know, the fact that winning is important. And to get to that point where the winning happens, first we talk about, there's times that we're in our skill acquisition. Okay. We're teaching. We're slow. Yesterday from a workload standpoint, we knew it was a lower workload day from a practice standpoint as we look at, measuring everybody's workload every day. So it was a lower workload day. It was a high skill acquisition day. So from the catching standpoint, for example, we were blocking, we were teaching blocking, we were getting ourselves in the right spot. It wasn't a tremendous amount of reps, but it was a very high focus learning. Okay, you have days like that. And then there are days that are skill development days. Okay, so this is, maybe it's higher rep, maybe it's harder. You're taking guys, past the level of their ability in whatever this skill is we're talking about, and then letting that ability catch up. So, facing velo, facing 100 off a machine and letting them struggle, facing a really good breaking ball, or having the machine cranked up in blocking to stay with the catchers. Like, we're going to make this really hard today, boys. It's going to be hard mentally. It's going to be hard physically. Like, this is getting better. And then you have times where we're just competing and you throw that out, right? Maybe that's a live day. It's a scrimmage day. You're on the mound. I'm hitting. We're playing. All this doesn't matter. Let's just go figure out how to win. And that you have to figure that out as well, right? Like, you can have a skill, but how do you translate it into a win and loss becomes, can we be so focused on our player development? Can we so focus on making sure our players have the skills that they need to be out there and have the ability to make decisions at game speed at a really high level? So then they're playing with no fear, no worry, no doubt, right? Now now your talent level can come out, right? And I also think that I do believe that combining that with kids who care about each other and care about winning, then hopefully you can, steal a football term, you can outkick your coverage, right? Because everybody's working hard, everybody's got talented players. Like how do you find some edges? How do you win within some of those margins? So going back to it, you build that infrastructure on everything we're doing. We take our data. I want our program to be elite at using data, at using our analytics. Okay, that's really, really important to me. But never losing the old school, the grit, the playing really good baseball, running the base as well, throwing the ball to the right base, holding one, like all those things that people might consider old school or tough or gritty or whatever it is. Like, I think we can do both. The data, how we look at it, it really just comes down to decision making. Like, can we make really, really good decisions? First off the field on our player development, ultimately down there, right? Like, one of the terms I use and we talk about is having our program creating a really good decision-making apparatus. So all of our decisions across the board are made well with the information that you have. You know what I mean? I used to play a lot of poker.
Okay.
This was, before kids. I mean, I don't know. I liked it. But you think about poker, right? And I loved it. I played a lot. Again, I was single and had the time. But if you think about, I look at data, and I will still watch poker. Like if I'm home at night and the World Series is on, I'll watch that. Well, it's a much easy decision-making process of what would I do when I'm watching poker on TV, and I know what all four guys that are in the hand have, and I have the percentages
right next to it.
That's a much easier decision than when I'm sitting at the table and all I know are my two cards. So I kind of look at that. If you extrapolate that out with our program, like, hey, let's get all the information and then make the best decision we can at that time with the information that we have, and then see. And that's kind of what I want to teach these boys out here, right? Like, I want them comfortable enough that when the ball is hit, there's a line drive hit in the right center field gap, our center fielder can rip through it, come up. He has it in his database. He knows his information. He knows our principles, that he can come up and rip through the play and throw it through whatever cut he has made that decision based on where the runners are, and then we can make a decision after that. But as soon as, if you're not prepared and you're uncertain out there, then you're in between. One guy's get hurt, and two, you'll never reach your potential.
There's a lot in that answer that I'd like to get into. I want to start here from something you just said. You talked about being able to have the player development and be really good at that while also having some of that old school grit. In my opinion, and you can tell me if I'm wrong here, we teeter in baseball a little bit on that. We've gotten so good at developing players because of the resources that we have, which are incredible. And it's everywhere. There's local facilities that high school guys can go to. Every college program you go to, they have these unbelievable resources. But sometimes it feels like we are so focused on the one-on-one battle of pitcher-hitter, and the other stuff gets left behind a little bit. Sounds like to me in that last answer, you think that we can also do the little things that are the margins that help you win when you're competing against other talented programs. How do you then find the time to focus on both? Because you won't, time is a constraint, right? And then also, how do you know, hey, this is what we need to focus on right now versus maybe the other one?
So if I go back to front, the last part I think is constantly in flux, right? Like getting a feel for each kid, each team, each player, where the team is, and that can go back and forth. I think maybe to hit on that, we were doing base running reads at second yesterday.
Right.
First time teaching it to the group. One of the things we talk about every fall is we go back to kindergarten with everything. So we're teaching no out, one out read, base running reads at second base in small groups while we're hitting on the field, starting our seniors and our freshmen at the same spot. Teach the principles. One of the guys had a really good question, and we're doing it, we're talking sort of bigger picture here, so there's not fielders out there. We're focusing mostly on balls to the outfield, right? And how do we make this reads? How do we make these reads? There's a line drive sort of near where a second baseman would have been. An older guy did a great job going back on a line. And one of the freshmen asked the question, well, what if he didn't catch it? You're not going to score. Perfect question. Exactly what you want. So we're able to talk in that situation about, you're talking about game speed decisions. Yes, in this scenario, and we don't know where that guy is. So then we can talk through, your first job is knowing where so if there's a big right-handed hitter up and the second baseman's playing up the middle, that wouldn't be a back and alive. We're in this drill, we're talking about everybody is playing straight up. In straight up, would he have caught that? I don't know. But in game speed, that ball in that area, you have to go back. If you don't, you're doubled up. And that means that if he doesn't catch it, you might not score, which we're okay with. And then the next thing, I asked one of our older guys, I said, and if he goes back on the line and that ball gets through and we don't score, what should our bench say? And one of the older guys, he's like, yeah, the whole bench should be like, well done, awesome job. Like, our bench should explode on a really good base running read because your process was right. Even though maybe it was just outside of the reach of the second baseman, that's a great base running read, so it should be rewarded, right? So you like sort of do that all the way through, and you're doing that so that like that teaching point then it's a culture point, it's a what do we value point, and that freshman doesn't have to like run to third, be like, oh my gosh, should I have scored? Because he understands, no, that was the read. Right. But then we also explained that's also different. Like I said, going back to if all three of the infielders on the left side of the infield and that ball gets hit, you should be off. Right. So we reward our decision-making process and then deal with the results. And as long as they're prepared, right, they also understand, like, we make our mistakes being aggressive. If a kid is ever bang out at a base, other than end of a game, down late situations, other than that, I know you're not supposed to make the third out at third base in the old base, but whatever. But like, if they're bang out, they're never going to get in trouble because I want them to be aggressive. I understand that they're college players, but they're going to make mistakes. If all our mistakes are always being aggressive and trying to make plays, I think over the long haul, we'll be better because I don't want them in between, and I don't want them. I want them to be able to play free.
I love that. And so is that something then that like we get into the spring, right? So you're going back to kindergarten in the fall. We get into the spring. Is that stuff that you're having to recheck up on? Like, are you still doing that type of stuff in the spring where it's like, hey, we need to go back over this because, maybe it's reactionary to something that happened over the past weekend, or is it not reactionary where you're just having like checkpoints throughout the season where it's like, we haven't talked about reads at second in a couple months. Let's just hit back on it.
you can't do everything all the time in the spring, but there are certain things that we're hitting all the time. And when we do, it's tremendously focused on game speed reads, right? One of my sort of foundational coaching principles for me is that I don't believe in baseball instincts. I don't believe that there's any reason that, like, when I think of instincts, like like there's nothing innate in us that lets us know when I should go first or third. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
there's something instinctual that makes me run away when I hear something rustle in the woods.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't have that.
Right.
Right. So to me, baseball instincts are a database. It's my job to help them build that database. Now, some kids have databases that are stickier than others. Some can access that information quicker. And that's the thing you got to figure out. And in those cases, like, you have to figure out what you're going to ask each kid to do and what are they capable of doing. And right. So that's another conversation. But the only way we're going to be able to be good at reads at second base, the reason big leaguers looks like they're moving slowly, even though that game is so fast, is they've just seen the play so many times. Right. So they know what's happening. So when that ball gets hit for that runner at second base, he's seen it. Now, you'll see, rookies when they get up, the game is fast, and all of a sudden something happens in it. But, when you watch those guys up in the big leagues, it's just so slow for them because they've seen it. They have the database. They can access the information. They've seen this play out before.